Hey y'all, what is going on? What is going on? It's your girl, Melba Pearson, Melba for Miami, Melba for Justice, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and it is time for another Mondays with Melba. Hope everyone had a great weekend and that y'all are doing well. We're winding down to the end of the year, so only a handful of shows left, but wanted to definitely remind you, if you live in Florida and you have not signed a petition with regards to getting choice with regards to abortion on the ballot, please make sure to do so. I'm going to drop the link in the comments as well as in the chat and in the body of this description. But just a reminder, because we really need to get that on the ballot so that, again, we can codify access to reproductive care in Florida. And not this crazy 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, but make sure that people have the right to choose and decide how they want to plan their family, if they want to plan a family, or what the best thing it is for their health. So just a reminder to do that. But now pivoting to my amazing, amazing guest, MaryKay, who is the queen of all things alpaca. And she also runs Your Alpaca Cottage. Used to be the Decatur Alpaca Cottage, but it's now Your Alpaca Cottage in Decatur, Georgia. Welcome, MaryKay.
I'm so glad to be here, Melba. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here. I feel like we should tell people how we met.
Yes. Let's definitely do that. So you kick it off.
The backstory. Okay, so the backstory is I have an Airbnb on an urban alpaca sanctuary just outside Atlanta. That was my salesy voice. But Melba started following us on social media, I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. And, we had some, DMs and she'd comment. She was a wonderful, engaged follower. And over the course of these 5 years, it has felt like we've become friends, and yet we'd never met until about 3 weeks ago. Yes. When Melba came to town because one of her friends was chosen or designated. I'm sorry. Oh, I don't have the right word because I'm not a lawyer. But she appointed. Thank you. That's the word. To be a federal judge. And so Melba came up to Atlanta for her swearing in, and she stayed in Your Alpaca Cottage. And so it was like long ago, long lost friends that saw each other again for the first time, and yet it was the first time we met. So we should have always been friends.
I know. And it was just because, first of all, for all those who don't know, I am obsessed with alpacas. Don't ask, long story, makes no sense. I know, chick from New York, all about the alpacas, but yeah, that's me. That's my world. And one of my amazing folks at the ACLU of Florida, Casey Bruce White. Hey, Casey, miss you, girl. She's the communications director. She's originally from Georgia. And so once she realized my obsession with alpacas, she's like, oh, you've got to follow MaryKay. Her page is so dope. And I'm like, okay. And then that's how it all began. And who knew that was going to be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Casey. I want to thank you for that, because I needed Melba in my life, and I'm so glad that you're here.
So tell folks a little bit more about yourself, about the cottage, and just sort of your journey into, growing this amazing business.
And how I came to be the crazy alpaca lady. I'm as alpaca obsessed as you are. So that's a really great story. So I have lived here on what is effectively an urban farm. It's not huge. It's about 1.5 acres. It is the vestiges of what was once a dairy farm. Back in the early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, the initial something Tuggle dairy farm. And I'm still researching that because I'm fascinated. And I love that there is this hanging on of the history of this land. And let me acknowledge, this is land that was here long before that dairy farm was. It's Muskogee land. So I want to acknowledge that. And I do love that it's this little urban farm now, and it's home to our herd of rescue and adopted alpacas. And it's really amazing. So there's that. There was a guest cottage, which sounds really bougie. It is not, although it's super cute. And it was a long-term rental when I first moved here. The woman was there for 15 years. Eventually, she went and bought a house. And I thought, well, let me make this cute. And I'm going to go write the great American novel in this cottage, right? Well, then I kind of came down to earth and realized that it's better if it generates some revenue. So let me try this Airbnb thing. So I did. And here I am 7 years later, having hosted thousands of people 5-star reviews across the board. And I get to meet, I mean, this, I don't want to sound stalkery, but pretty much every guest that has ever stayed here is a friend of sorts or leaves as a friend of sorts. It's incredible. And in that time, I would say I've had maybe 2 guests that were just kind of meh. They weren't nightmares. They were just kind of meh, but everyone else is like fabulous. But alpacas, gardens, you know, it's going to attract amazing people. So that's how I started. And yeah, so that's how it got started.
So that's pretty awesome, because it's really funny how the cottage really does give that like writer's vibe, right? Like that was the first thing. I think I put that in my review. It's almost like you just want to sit there and write a novel. Like you really do, because the couch right on the screened-in porch is just so cozy, and it's just so quiet and peaceful. But like literally you're 30 minutes from like downtown Atlanta. Like you're not far from restaurants and nightclubs and all of that. So it's just like, whoa. You know? Well,
and the other thing that's cool about the cottage too, again, honoring, I'm very sentimental. I'm big on honoring history, and I want to dig in and find out about it. The cottage, and this has been revealed bit by bit over the last 20 years that I've lived here. The cottage predates anything around it. So my neighborhood was built in the mid-50s. The neighborhood behind it with townhomes was built in the 90s. And then there's another adjacent, it was in like the 2000s. That cottage was built long before any of that. And that's based on architectural clues as I've made changes and stuff. I haven't yet pinpointed this, but I am 95% certain that that was a caretaker's cottage for the dairy farm back in the early 1900s. Okay. And I think that's really amazing. And I've kept the structure of it. I haven't changed that. Obviously, I've updated things and made it colorful and happy. And, you know, but I love keeping that here and keeping that flavor, and, you know, that it's continues to be a farm. So
I love it. Love it. Love it. So what are some things you learned along the way? Because obviously, you know, launching this business, you know, you don't, and this is not in a bad way, you just don't have a hospitality background. And some folks may think, oh, if I'm going to open an Airbnb, I need to, you know, do all these things in order, you know, to even think about being successful. So maybe this isn't for me. So what are some of the things that you've learned along this journey of, you know, having a successful Airbnb?
This is great. Thank you for asking that. So you're right. I don't have a background in hospitality. I studied physics at Georgia Tech. Never used it. I also have a full-time career alongside this side business. This it's not a hobby business at this point, but in global executive, I work with global companies helping to support the benefit programs they offer their executives. So I love I can't call it a day job. I love my career. So none of that lends to hospitality. The one clue I had, though, is I was that kid that loved building forts and creating vignettes for my little Barbies. I didn't like playing with the Barbies, like, oh, Barbie, Ken. I like making a house for them or clothes for them, or let's create a holiday scene for them. And what is the cottage? But it's grown up Barbies or grown up, you know, that's exactly what it is. That makes me sound like I'm, but no, you don't know that, but it is. It like really is in my wheelhouse. I am a very nurturing and kind and extra sort of person, so this is perfect. So no, and I actually mentor Airbnb hosts in my spare time, and I love it because it is a good opportunity to help them get started well and avoid a lot of the pitfalls that I didn't know were out there. I almost closed my Airbnb the first year. Oh, and to be clear, Airbnb and short-term rental, I use these terms interchangeably at this point, but yeah, I almost closed it because I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't do it efficiently. I had no systems in place. At this point, I've got systems. I have someone, I did my own cleaning the first year.
Oh, and I get it, because you're like, I'm trying to save money, you know, I don't have a ton of revenue, but also time is money. So you can't do marketing and other things because you're cleaning the cottage.
I get 24 hours a day. I've been lobbying for a 30-hour day, but you know, nobody's taking me up on it. But yeah, I did that for the first year. And now I have a dear friend that I've known for 27 years. She does the cleaning. It's great for her because it helps her. It helps me because she is so consistent. She does more than clean. I mean, she just puts good energy and love into it and like keeps an eye on stock inventory. I mean, she's just couldn't do it without her. So yeah, it's amazing. And the people I mentor, the new hosts I mentor, I can tell them about Here's how to be strategic with your pricing. Here's how to keep an eye on cleanliness and sanitation. I am the only Airbnb host I know who, when I reopened at the, I don't know, 3 or 4 months after the pandemic hit, I had a 4-page cleaning document that was based on CDC, World Health Organization. What was Marriott doing? What was Delta doing? I was fogging my Airbnb. I mean, I was going that far because I wanted to keep our guests safe, and then as that sort of has wound down, we go into, monkeypox became a thing and we need to pay attention to that. Well, that lives on soft surfaces for a long time. So I found out how to handle that. And now there's all this buzz in France about bed bugs. I already have a protocol in place so I'm very extra. There's a whole page on my website about this. So yeah, so it works out really well for our guests because they know they have a clean and wonderful place, and they're not going to have the nightmare stories that you hear in the clickbait stories. And I truly love it. I truly do love it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
And then I started doing social media, which is where you came in.
Yes.
I had no clue what I was doing on social media. I just, I started putting pictures out there, but it wasn't fun. I wasn't making fun. And now I have fun with it. I still obviously promote the business and promote the various prongs of the business, which we'll touch on in a minute, but I have fun with it. And actually, if it's okay, I want to lead into
absolutely. Let's talk about it.
How the social media has evolved. So we connected via Instagram, and in 2020, George Floyd was murdered. And although I've been involved in some form or fashion of diversity and inclusion since 1989, so that gives you a sense of how old I am. In 1989, Georgia Tech put in an Office of Multiculturalism, and it was their attempt to start to, create education around this. And they covered things like racism, homophobia, that sort of thing. And so I've been involved. Okay, fast forward to 2020, and I will admit, I thought I kind of knew it. I had this topic down. I was good. I was, I could teach others about it. And to some extent that was true. But what George Floyd and the aftermath showed so many people is that we didn't even have a clue. We didn't have a clue of really what it was all about and what needed to happen, and really the injustices that people were living every single day, and just how systemic the racism is, and how it opened up so many eyes. And I was humbled. I was so humbled because I thought I was doing enough, and I wasn't. Not even close. Not even close. So I did a bit of a pivot on my social media. I also started working with a diversity and inclusion consultant, a coach. Her name is LaToya Berkeley of Your Big Debut. She's amazing. And I went to her and I said, I want to update my mission statement because, I'm the geek that had a mission statement for my one little Airbnb, but I wanted to update it. And the conversation we first had about that was pretty profound because basically I was like, I want to make sure that everybody knows this is a safe space. So I started down the path of we don't discriminate based on race, gender, religion, the whole list. And Toya asked me, she said, well, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, that I don't discriminate based on race, gender. She said, yeah, but what do you mean? I was like, well, and I was struggling because I thought, well, this is obvious what I mean.
Right.
She said, what do you what's the bottom line here? I said, well, everyone's welcome. She said, that's it. That's it right there. Everyone is welcome. And I will say that there have been moments where I've had to really check myself because, your mission statement is your North Star. It is your guiding principles. And I do believe in giving the benefit of the doubt. I do believe in inclusion across the entire spectrum and focusing on what are the acts and words of that person. That we may have some fundamental differences about how we worship or if we worship, or we can go on any number of topics where I'm vastly different from someone who might stay at the cottage. However, if our acts and words are respectful of the cottage, the animals, the gardens, the people that I have worked for me, my cleaning team, then we're okay. And everyone is welcome. And it's been great. It's posted in the cottage because I want people to know. It's all over my Airbnb listing because I think that that's important. That's particularly important now that not only people know that it's a safe place, but that I'm committed to continuing to learn and unlearn what I need to learn and unlearn. So
is this part of the reason why the name of your business shifted from the Decatur Alpaca Cottage to Your Alpaca Cottage, or?
That's a great question. Actually, no, but but concurrent with that, I was Decatur Alpaca Cottage, and that's a whole story because there's apparently 17 cities of Decatur in the entire country, and people were always saying, "Where are you?" Oh my God! And I didn't want to do Atlanta because Atlanta's fine, and people will know where Atlanta is, but it just seemed a little not on brand in that Atlanta. I think city. I think this is this slice of urban farm heaven close to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So I was actually brainstorming with a dear friend of mine, Lib Abashan, who is an incredibly talented copywriter. And words dance for her. She's amazing. And we were brainstorming, maybe over a glass of wine. And possible. And I said, I want to do something different because, people get confused about where it is. The mispronunciations of Decatur are sometimes awkward. I'll take that one offline though. And so we were brainstorming and I said, I thought about my alpaca cottage, but that's mine. It's not welcoming. And we landed on your Alpaca Cottage. And Decatur Alpaca Cottage is trademarked. Your Alpaca Cottage is in the process of being trademarked. And I wanted it to be a real welcoming, that you are welcome. Everyone is welcome. And it is your Alpaca Cottage during your stay. And it was beautiful. Concurrent with that, and actually I do need to touch on something about the pivot on social media that I started posting about my support for anti-racism and anti-homophobia. And just really across the spectrum. I did a post yesterday about calling it out that anti-Semitism is not, it's not a defensible opinion. It's hate. No. And so is Islamophobia and going on and on. It's all hate. Mm-hmm. And I got some huge backlash from this on my social media. I lost hundreds and hundreds of followers. I lost bookings. I got trolls coming left and right. And it was tough in that, I'm a recovering people pleaser here. So, I felt like, I've made people mad. It made me question for a second. And I went, no. You've been committed to this for decades. Mm-hmm. Keep doing you. And so I did. And I, concurrent with the business name change to Your Alpaca Cottage, I added a tagline: Alpacas, AirBNBs, and activism.
Yes.
Ben and Jerry's can talk about voters' rights and, that prisons are basically a cash cow business. If they can do that with ice cream, I can certainly do that with alpacas. So that's where we're at.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I love it. I've actually got some stickers and I'll throw them in a package where, so there's that. There was another thought there, but I do post about it. And when it comes to voting, go get registered to vote. I'll put resources out there. I will talk about this, and I'll sometimes, depending on particular issues or particular states, like Ohio has issue 1 coming up.
Right.
And they've conveniently named the one they're voting on in November issue 1 as well, but it's the opposite direction that you need to vote to make reproductive rights be secured. Mm-hmm. So, I'll post about that. And even in my line of products, I have products that a portion of that will benefit different causes. So the Stay Proud products, they benefit the Trevor Project. I might have a design that basically says F those effers, except the U is a couple of twin alpacas looking at each other.
Yes, that resembles something.
Impressively our most popular design over the last year and a half. And that benefits Planned Parenthood. I also believe in alpaca rescue. And so the Stay Fearless line benefits Southeast Llama Rescue. So a shout out to Southeast Llama Rescue. And I believe in working that into the business, that philanthropy is also included in the mission statement.
I love this. I love this so much. Oh my gosh. So, so then how did you handle the backlash, right? So you had said that, sometimes people would criticize, you lost bookings, you were like, I'm going to, stay committed to the cause. But I know that it still must have been emotional for you because people can be really vile, right? As somebody who has been victimized by trolls.
Like death threats, even, death threats and threats of violence and things like that. And, at first, I think like many of us have done over the years on social media, I attempted to create a dialogue. I attempted to educate. I attempted to, open the conversation up. And at some point I realized, okay, I'm spending a lot of energy on this. And these that are inclined to come and troll and just have zero interest in opening a dialogue. So I would block and I would report and I would, that's what I was doing. I generally tried not to delete comments because I think that the hateful comments being there showed just how serious the topic that I was posting about was.
Right.
What is interesting, and it would wreck my day. I would be like, just, my heart would hurt and I would, feel awful, like, oh gosh, this is just terrible. But I also knew that, okay, this is me in my white skin feeling this awful thing. And, MaryKay, get over it and keep going. So now, on the rare occasion I get a troll comment, which does not happen honestly, knock wood, it rarely happens at this point. And I'm still posting a lot of the similar topics. Now I will use a troll comment as an opportunity to create content. Like last year's National Coming Out Day as an example. I am an LGBTQ plus owned business, okay? And I got a troll comment that said, why do you need to talk about that? You don't need to talk about who you love. That's, that's inappropriate for. And so I actually took that comment, posted in the upper corner. You've seen people do this. And I said, at first when I got this comment, I was angry. I was defensive. I was protective and I wanted to block them and report them. And then I stopped and I thought this person also, perhaps they're just being ugly, but they also probably don't understand how core who you love is to your day. And so I did a response video that effectively said, I challenge you, this person, and also anyone else who doesn't understand why National Coming Out Day or coming out at all is important. I challenge you to go 24 hours without mentioning who you love, the gender of who you love, the what you're doing with the person you love, the structure of your family. Go 24 hours, just 24, and see how that goes.
Wow.
That was well received as well. And please know the first post was like warmly received. That post was like, oh yeah, you make a lot of sense. Yeah, because it's almost impossible not to.
Yeah.
So
I think of the same thing when people are like, and I see, people from the LGBTQ plus community posting, things on LinkedIn about, their family, whatever. And then they'll get these comments of this, LinkedIn is a work site. You shouldn't be talking about your spouse. You shouldn't be bringing your personal life here. And it's like, but people post about, well, my spouse and I went here over the weekend, or we went to this networking event or whatever. Like, it is something that, you bring your whole self to work. So who you love in your family is part of who you are. And that's the person that's coming to the workplace. So how can you try and police people's content? Don't talk about that here. Like, don't talk about this whole side of you here, because it just makes sense.
I mean, it's literally like splitting yourself in half and compartmentalizing a major part of your life. I didn't, when I first started social media, I didn't identify as an LGBTQ owned business. I think it was women owned business. And then at some point I thought, this is important because someone's going to see this and it's going to be important for them to give them courage to be authentic and be out. And mind you, I'm someone who is out in my job. I'm out in my neighborhood. I am out at the kids' schools, and I've been out for 30 years now. Mm-hmm. And so to make that leap, I'm surprised at how hard it was. Now I have no regrets. It's out there. I'm LGBTQ plus member of that community. Get used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about what's next for you, for the cottage. Like, yes.
I'm so excited. So, um, coming up in the very near horizon is our oh so famous, sells out every single time, annual alpaca fiber blanket sale.
Ooh.
So, all right, I hate to sound all salesy here because, quite frankly, I think that the things we're talking about is far more important than making sales. But those sales do help support a rescue herd of alpacas. They allow me to continue to make donations. So these alpaca fiber blankets are amazing. They're soft. They sell out every time. They're great holiday gifts. So that's coming up in November, early November. Then I'm going to continue to expand the products on my website because I love doing alpaca themed things that are fun and a little sassy, like the F those effers, design that benefits for reproductive rights. I also am nearing the final stages of being able to launch an online class for short-term rental hosts. I'm going to keep it super simple, super focused, and I'm hoping to launch that first quarter of 2024. And that will be
Nice.
cool. And I want to make the price point to where it is affordable and help new hosts avoid the pitfalls that I hit that almost had me jumping out of the business. So that's what's coming up.
I love it. I love it. So, most importantly, tell people where they can get some of these products. Because let me tell you, I've got mugs, I've got magnets on the fridge. I'm
Yes,
like
you
those
do.
fiber
You've been a
blankets.
good customer.
Listen, I'm like, oh, something new. MaryKay got something new. Hold on. I gotta have
Yes,
like a MaryKay line
yes.
in my budget. But those fiber blankets are the bomb.com.
They're
Like that.
butter. There's butter. They're buttery
Yes.
soft. Well, and I mean, the ones I have in my living room are the ones I first put in the cottage 7 years ago, and they get washed frequently. And so I've changed colors, so I wanted to change the colors, but they are still great. So they hold up. All right. So you can follow, I'm going to look in the camera here. You can follow Your Alpaca Cottage on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and even Threads. So come by in Your Alpaca Cottage. And I try to keep it fun, but I also talk about other stuff. Airbnbs, alpacas, and activism.
Love it. MaryKay, you are everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you for chatting with us today. Thank you for all of your activism and for bringing us beautiful, sweet, loving alpacas
They're so cute. They're
and a
so
beautiful
cute.
place.
Thank you so much. I mean, Melba, it's been truly an honor and a pleasure to get to know you over the years virtually. And man, when you arrived, it was, I've met a long lost friend. And there was
Yes.
lots of squealing and, just giddiness. And
A lot of squealing.
yeah, absolutely could have talked all night.
Totally. And I felt so bad because it was literally like such a short trip because again, it was
Oh, no.
celebrating, Judge Nancy Abudu, now on the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, appointed by President Biden to have a lifetime appointment as a federal judge. Amazing, amazing human being. Known her since working, well before she had been at the ACLU of Florida as the legal director. I had known her when I was a prosecutor. And then, of course, we worked together when I was at the ACLU of Florida. So it was a quick trip just to celebrate her. But I'm so glad I got to get there, spend time with you, spend time with the herd, spend more time with you. It was just so, yeah, next trip soon
Yes.
come.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Loverboy is our most extra alpaca. He sends you his best. He wants to know when you're bringing more carrots. I got you covered on the carrot front. But yeah, it's a joyful place, and I love being able to create that for people. So.
And really, I mean, you do it so well. So folks, definitely follow MaryKay on all of her pages. Check out the cottage. If you're going to be in the Atlanta area and you just want like a little cute getaway, just to, relax your mind, definitely this is the spot. This is it. And again, alpacas, Airbnb, and activism. Can't get a better combination.
Yep.
So again, thank you, MaryKay, and y'all, thank you for tuning in. See you next week. We are going to be ending the month. This month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So our final show for October will be discussing domestic violence. So trigger warning on that, but also we are going to be sharing resources in case you or someone finds themselves in that situation. So with that, Take care, y'all. Bye.
Bye.